Here I am, Leon C., a.k.a. Morpheus, and you're now listening to the Academy of Wow Money. Here today, we're going to talk about a very serious topic and study. You already see the title there, so I'm not going to hold you too long. And I'm going to get specifically into it. Let me go ahead and move around here in the studio. Pull out some of my healthy items that I have available here. Got my protein shake and healthy water. That is, it's not smart water. Not dousing it, but if that's what you drink, how do they say it? Have fun with it. I drink other things that are a little bit more real. No pun intended. And different concoction that's good for my development, my phylum, my health, my strength. So, let's see, get this thing together here. Should have prepared this before this lesson today, ladies and gentlemen. But I drink while we talk. I got to keep my voice clear so you can hear me. So that's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. The question was given to me, and mind you, I am going to talk about the subject, so just bear with me, but I got to answer some questions of my viewers. And I'm getting a couple of questions at one time, but I'm going to tackle one, which is the majority of people. They want to say, how did Morpheus, how is it possible that church religion is mingled with, you could say, relationships, or you could say, the talk about the red pill? How do they differentiate? What is the connection? What is the relation in this particular entanglement or twist? Well, again, I don't want to go in too deep with it, but I'm going to just discuss it very easy. Let's go back to the past here. That is, in my past. And I don't talk a lot about my personal life. I know I've discussed about my 3 companions and my gold digger prank, my friend with the Ferrari and things like that. There are little things that I like to do or is capable of, but they're only towards the lesson. But there's so much more that can be discussed when it comes to life that you can't put it all in the book or talk about it in a 20-minute clip. Okay? But in this particular one, this part of my past is important because this may help you. See, as a kid, I was raised up in the church. And I've been through, I told you, several religions, but one of the ones that I started off with was Christianity. I know what you're thinking. And I was taught so many things: to turn the other cheek, to, you could say, love and respect your sky daddy that y'all like to call God. You know, and some of the sacrifices that Jester the Crest did, supposedly, according to the story. And be like Jester. What would Jester do? You know, that was a theme in the day. The WJ something would do, right? And we were taught that it was a battle between God and the devil. We were taught to be nice, to respect people, that there was the worldly person and there was the person of God. The things that you didn't do and things that you would do. And it was talking about how men should just pretty much honor God, and God would pretty much bless them with a woman that was supposed to be his Eve, made from his rib. A whole lot of rainbow Disney false, I would say pretty much idiot compilations of passages that was written down by human people that convinced us, or I can say myself, that it was written by God itself. You see, you notice I didn't say himself, I said itself. That's another false angle. And where you all would have this argument, you would specifically say, well, it is a him. And then when I ask you where you get him from, you go directly to the Bible. You go directly to the source that is considered as fault or the guilty party. You can't go to the guilty party. When you're on trial for doing something, or if that criminal is on trial, you can't go to the criminal and ask them about a situation. You go to the resource, which is called evidence. You got to go outside, because if you ask the criminal, of course the criminal is going to say no or yes, according to how they want you to present the case, because they want to be considered as innocent. So they're going to lie and say, no, they did not steal the cookie. So in this particular case, that's the same as your books, your religious context, your papers that was written by human beings. It wasn't written by God. It was written by the hands of man. And then you funny, I'm going to say it, and I don't mean no, let me go ahead with the disclaimer. Disclaimer is, there is no hatred towards religious people. It is not going against any specific person. I don't talk about any individual. This is not to produce any violent acts towards anyone or anything that I'm discussing. We are talking about a subject based on debate and facts. There you go. Now, I question the IQ level, the intelligence. I question where you graduated from. I question what angle and degree that your brain is in, that's in your skull, if it's in your skull, when you will accept a passage that was only you think in your mind, no proof, no evidence, but inspired by someone, and you completely disregard or go over the person who actually written the book. You don't, there's just no, let's say that I'm building a car, for example. For stupid people, let me explain this. I don't want to go too long. Look like it's getting longer than what I need to be already. I'm going on a rant, but we got to discuss this just for a minor second here. I create a car. I got the blueprint. I got the paperwork and everything else that I want this car to be. Okay. And let's say that I send this blueprint to the auto shop, or, you know, the warehouse and the machine shop and all that. And they're to put the parts together and et cetera, et cetera. Okay. Now, I didn't build the machines. I didn't build the shop. I didn't build the warehouse, but yet I am the owner of this particular project. This is my blueprint. This is my design, my idea. Okay. But however, the way it's going to be manufactured, especially if I'm hiring people, according to humans, that is, now it's in the hands of humans. It's in the hands of the warehouse or the machine line. It's in the hands of the welders, and it's in the hands of the molders and the plastic and the materials that they are going to get to build this car that I am wanting in production. Okay? Then, of course, there is this thing called final testing of defaults. You got to do the dummy test. You got to do crash test. You got to do a safety test. You got to go through the governmental background paperwork, etc., 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 which should have been done beforehand, but you got to do it afterwards too, because you got to analyze the final project of this particular concept before it becomes particularly made, and you can call that production. But all in all, here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. There's two things that you're missing out of this. One is, when you look at your religious context or your books that you read and you think it's actually from this particular person that you call your sky daddy, everything that you have in your hand is made up by men themselves that you try to call prophets, which is considered as a proxy, and I think that will also be the third party. I think that will be, I could be wrong, but third party. But it's second hand, not first hand. But when you read this thing, you realize they're not talking about, let's put it like this, they're talking about their experiences. John, Paul, Luke, Hezekiah, Jacob's ladder, etc., etc. List goes on. Moses, Noah's Ark. You're talking about these people and their poetry stories. Now, if you're talking about this was inspired by God, there are more contradictions in your religious text than there's head on a young person's head. I'm not talking about you old people, because you don't have any hair. So, it could relate to you. You say, well, my contradictions are very low. Yeah, because you bald, you don't have no hair. I'm talking about from a young person. There's more contradictions than what needs to be, but you mow over it because they only stop at the idea that they say this book was inspired by God. If it was inspired by a universal superior God, there will be no contradictions, because guess what? If I was to build a car, and as a professional, I would, I would supervise how this car is being made, because I'm the boss. I'm the owner. This is my car. I want the plastic where it's supposed to be. I want the buttons where it's supposed to be. I want to Alcantara where I want it at. I want the carbon fiber in several places because I designed this car. I'm going to watch the process from when they get the material, the metal. I want to know what type of metal or aluminum that they're using. I want to know how heavy this car is going to be. I want to know the seating. I want to know where it's getting from, if it's coming from Japan, China, Korea. The hell with getting anything from America. You might as well, F yourself on that one. No, it's going to be other places besides American trash. No, I'm going to find other places that's going to build something correct. I don't need your red, white, and blue touching my no, because every time you do, you mess up some stuff. I seen your Mazdas and your Ford F-150s. Hell no. Most times when America, let me stop because y'all gonna get upset. Every time America builds something from their factories, there's always going to be a recall. There's going to be some type of default or defect. Other countries, when they build something and they send it over here from across seas, it'll take a while before there's a default. It'll take several years before there's a default, which most times it's natural just by time, wear, and use. Y'all automatically make something that's garbage straight out of the factory. Hell no, I'm not going to get no material from you. Don't touch my otherwise you're going to make it just that. Anyhow, so I'm going to monitor it from the beginning to the end. I'm going to do the crash test. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to hire who I want. That's going to do the crash test and to analyze this car. And I'm going to see how this car is going to ride and drive on the track. And put it on the dyno test, because this is representing me. Uh-oh, ladies and gentlemen. This is representing me. This car is going to represent me as a business or a possible car producer to put on a production line to actually get out there and be sold to the broad public. So, in a nutshell, when you're saying that this Bible or these religious context is made and inspired by God, I want no part of your God. It will be no different than going to a store or buying a certain device or product from a certain place that has more defaults and bugs than necessary. I don't buy your BS because it's too faulted, it's too wrong, it's too disrupted, and it doesn't work in the modern day. I'm not gonna go to the details with it. I'm just gonna say your God didn't monitor the production line of what you consider to be inspirational words. Now, a lot of you aren't gonna like that, but I'm talking about the subject. I'm not talking about you. These are facts that you can figure out for yourself. Y'all just don't like the research. Everything I'm telling you, you can research. Figure it out for your damn self. Read up on religious contradictions and the ideal of the creation of God and whatever else that you believe. You'll figure out that there's going to be 10 or 12 other books that's going to at least explain that what you think is real can be 90% false. The only 10% is because you just can't let go of something because all you know how to do is believe because you don't want to know. Knowing something makes you accountable. And how many times do we want to be accountable for thinking in the westernized swamp world? Thinking is the hardest thing to do for the common person until you deal with the catastrophes that you're currently dealing with. And then now you want to think. Now you want to come up with programs to reseed y'all failing country backwards. the donkey leading the blind. So anyhow, I stood on whatever the religious context said 100%. And so going back to my past, I think this was middle school, as a matter of fact. And I'll never forget. Listen carefully. Why it blends over to red pill and marriage and relationships. I'm going to tell you how. Because, okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. There was this girl in the classroom I liked. And I was the type of guy where I just went to get it. There was no holds barred. I wasn't shy. If there was a girl I wanted, I went to go get her. There was no writing letters and do you like me, yes or no. And there were times where I would write the letter. Now, the thing is, if I write the letter, I'm going to follow up. Not, do you like me, yes or no. What I mean is just leaving it there and being shy and putting it on their desk and thinking that that's everything. That's what I mean by that. You know, the shy type of guy that just write on a lunchbox or what do you call that? Fold up a note and try to slide it over to the desk. No, I would watch and monitor if she gets it. And when she gets it, I'm still going to approach her anyway. I'm still going to make it happen. One way or the other. So I'm covering both bases. So anyhow, there was one specific girl that I was interested in. And I waited till after school. Yeah, this is middle school. I was just that type of guy. And I liked her because she had an open personality. She was kind of funny to me. She was she wasn't so shy herself. You know, very communicative type of girl. And I'll never forget where after school, of course, you have bus riders and you have walkers. And I told her, I said, you know what, I'm going to walk you to your bus. And she said, well, I don't live that far away, basically. You know, I just walked to my house. I said, well, I'll walk you to your house then. She said, sure, okay. And so, of course, I do the deed and get everything together and make sure that I know when she's going to leave in the classroom and all that. And waited for her outside of the school door. There I am when she's walking down the stairs, and I'm like, okay, she's here. And as we're walking, I'm do the natural thing and start asking her about her day, how is she, this normal kitty type of conversation. It's been so long ago, so it's like, you know, I could have said all kind of things during the time, knowing me. Hey, you cute. What's your future? How was your classroom? Who's your friends? That sort of thing. What you gonna do when you get home? Who you gonna call? Whatever. And I asked her, I said, hey, can I hold your hand? We should hold hands. She was like, okay, sure. You know, kindergarten type of stuff. And we walk all the way, at least close to where her house was, but, you know, it was like, I'm going to say a block away. It's pretty far. But we were like, far enough to actually see her house. All she had to do is, you know, cross the street and, you know, a couple of more feet, and she would have been there. And she stopped and turned to me real quickly. And she said, I know you want to be boyfriend, girlfriend, right? Is that what you want to be? I said, yeah, I'm interested in you. Yeah. Will you be my girlfriend? I like you. Very simple, right? Straightforward. No filters. And she put her bag down. I'll never forget. She put it down on the floor. The ground. She said, I got to be honest with you. I got to tell you something. And I'm attentive, like, okay, what do you got to say? Because now you got to remember, you got to understand that there's a year, I think it was a year in school during the time, and we were in the same classroom. I just remember that, yeah, we were in the same classroom. That's why I liked her. I was watching her. But she would leave the classroom to go to other events that were going on in the school. So that's why I was talking about where I needed to wait for her and figure out what time she left and all that, etc. stuff, right? Put all these pieces together correctly. So she knew what type of person that I was. It's not like it was her first time meeting me. We weren't strangers. We wasn't strangers. She watched how I carried myself and talked to other of my peers and friends in the classroom. And I knew a lot about her as well. You know, we had to stand up and do a spelling bee and, you know, talk to the teacher and do math on the chalkboard. It's not, we weren't strangers at all. We knew each other. There were laughing moments and moments in the cafeteria. You know, moments she witnessed me get into a fight or whatever, whenever it did occur. I don't think it was actually around her during that year, but every other type of time, there was always something going on. Or me putting somebody in the infirmary or in the nurse's office, bloody nose. But she said, I've watched you, but I gotta be honest with you, going back to me and her discussing this. She said, you're too nice. I can't be your girlfriend because you're too nice. You're too nice. I was a nice guy. You were too nice. Nice because I walked her all the way home. Nice because I didn't use profanity. I didn't curse. I wasn't in the popular groups of guys that had their ball caps to a certain angle and they was walking around with their pants below their waist. Just the typical, you know, middle school type of kiddish type of things that boys do. I didn't have a classy pair of Jordans or Nikes on. You know, I wear my buddies every now and then. You know, maybe some Hush Puppies. you know, those kind of shoes. Puma. You know, one of my greatest shoes that I got was a pair of Reeboks, but you know, I took care of those things. You know, halfway year round, they look brand new. How did you keep them so fresh and clean? Because I would clean them every time I went home because I enjoyed the shoes. Yeah, I didn't care about a pair of Jordans or Nikes and Adidas and the rest of them. You know, my Reeboks was enough. But however, the point was, I wasn't like the rest of the guys that were in the room. They were troublemakers. They were loud guys. They were guys that would always get in trouble, despite me and my fighting habits. There were real guys that would interrupt the teacher during lessons. They'll wad paper across the room and they make evil jokes about other people out in the open. Kids can be very crude or very rude and evil most times and very direct when they say things. But I wasn't that type of guy. Remember, I was still in church at the time. I was still thinking about hell and brimstone. So you would say, how does that equate to you trying to get a woman? Well, I'm still a man, or still a growing man at the time. It's not like I needed to keep my urges at bay. But here's the thing that we have to understand before I go any further. What I was thinking when I was talking to the girl and she said, you're a nice guy, so I can't be with you. You're just too nice. Pat me on the shoulder. You're just too nice. You're just too nice. You're a nice guy. I can't be your girlfriend. You're so nice. She was right at the time. Because I was Christian. I was so pampered down by the church. So soft, right? At the time. Didn't say a curse word. I'll fight you in a second, but I won't cuss while I'm fighting you. I'm not going to interrupt the teacher, but I'll definitely give you a broken nose. I'll definitely send you home during that day when you're supposed to be in your classroom, but you know, I'm not going to walk around with my pants below my waist. However, what I was thinking at the time, I was thinking about what the church said with their lies and deception. They said, well, she's just of the world and you are of God, so you don't mingle with each other. It's like you're unequally yoked, so she couldn't understand you. And she's just a different girl. Maybe that's where you went wrong, because she's of the world and you're of the church. I didn't think nothing of it. I didn't. Even though that was all the message that I needed, being too nice. Like, what does she mean I'm too nice? But it did cause me to shrink in that moment when she said that, because I thought we had something going on. I thought it was going to be an absolute victory. I did everything that a nice guy should do, right? A nice guy should do. I walked her home. I held her hand. I was direct. I was confident. Even funny sometimes. But I wasn't the bad boy she was interested in. Bad boys she was interested in, or probably even ran with every so often, because they were in the classroom. I would see that every now and then, but I did not understand it. So as I matured over the years, and of course, as we know of the studies of man and woman, I began to understand that it's not a church and a worldly thing. It wasn't that we were unequally yoked and that she wasn't made to be in my world and I wasn't enough. It's a universal thing that women have, that if you're a nice guy, you finish last. You know how you finish last? I would have been the type of guy who would be in her on her waiting list, where after she got done with the bad boys and those who are in the classroom causing trouble and true problems for the teacher, whether in middle school, high school, college, in the outside world, that is the thugs, the jailbaits, those who are always running in with the coming in collision with the law, those who have a track record and a bad criminal record, and etc. Those type of guys get the girl. She'll have fun with him for a while. He will actually become her baby's daddy as well. So after she's done with all that, guess who she's going to come back to? Or guess who she would have come back to? Old Poindexter, myself, being this nice church boy who have no idea about female nature. See, here's the key, ladies and gentlemen, because I'm building up to it, but I don't want to wait too long, so I'm going to have to cut some stuff out here. So I'm going to jump over several things that I could say, but I'm not going to say it. The church does not teach you about women nature, female nature. It didn't teach, and it don't teach men how to understand the modern lady today, or what women truly expect from a man, and what does she mean by nice guy? Why she chase the bad boys? Why and how to keep these modern girls? The only thing the church talked about was these false hopes, these false expectations, these false sky daddy mentalities from dopey gimps with tight pants on and very tight underwears where their eyes are bulging. They're standing there with this tie, looking like they're already in their funeral, standing there screaming and reading from a biblical text that was anthropomorphically created to make them dumb and docile like they are today. And I was one of them. As a child, that is, or a young man. I was trying to be tough and hard and trying to be religious at the same time, or this growing boy. But I did not understand female nature. I had it all, but I didn't understand their nature. I, at the time, thought that everybody respected God. I was this type of boy where if it's not about the church, I can't be about it. But I still loved my women. Still wanted to be with them regardless. So I begin to understand that the church don't prepare you for real life. It only prepares you to make an early grave above the ground by only looking far ahead outside of your human body and your realistic state of being that's made up. These far out concepts or ideas that are made up by humans that can't quite understand or will never understand a so-called superior God that's more than themselves. But they are so eager, they're so full of piety, so full of loyalty to the scriptures, where they can't understand that you are living in reality right now as a physical, mental, and spiritual being, where every facet of yourself is valid and important. They can't understand that. So therefore, they would say things like, the way of the world is evil. There's a sin out there, and be not a part of the world. Separate yourselves from underneath them, and, you know, the pastor is the leader, and there are sinners out there. If they don't believe in God, then don't mess with them. So-and-so, so-and-so. Separate yourself from amongst them. Now you got to rebuke them. It's all about the devil. It's not that person. Then they try to bring up a story about Jester, the Casper, the friendly ghost. And try to bring up a story and say, well, you know, when Jester was talking to one of the people and he was rebuking them, he wasn't talking to the person specifically. He was talking to the demon behind him that was controlling them. I don't know if some of you know about, you probably do, because y'all live and eat off of your own BS. So I'm not surprised, because you believe, you don't know. You probably know this passage, and I don't know what scriptures it's in, but I can remember when the minister said, and when I say Jester, I'm talking about Jesus. I just hate saying that word because it makes me sick and it gives me diarrhea. And I don't want to sit here and embarrass myself on public media. So I'd rather say Jester, because just saying it gives me a headache. Because it doesn't even sound right. No offense to you who believe. This is my free will to speak as I understand and overstand it. We're talking about the subject. If you get offended, I'm not talking about you. I don't know you as a specific person. Whatever relationship that you have and your friendly ghosts, that's between you. Live your life or beep to the next channel. So in the passage, it said that, I can't say the word, that Jester was talking to someone in the Bible, and Jester rebuked them. Actually rebuked them and said, you know, I rebuke you and whatever else, right? And the minister, our pastor, there's a difference, I know. But he was up there on the pulpit talking collard greens while his teeth was yellow. And I'm not talking about full of gold teeth either. He was stating and trying to speak up for Jester and say Jester wasn't talking to the person specifically. He was talking to the demon behind him, the devil behind him, rebuking the devil. They didn't tell you, they didn't say to the crowd or congregation that Jester was rebuking the person. Jester was rebuking the person behind them. That's the beginning of stupidity right there. That's the beginning of getting past accountability right there. That's getting past, that's almost, I'm not going to talk about it. When a person decides to delete someone out in public, like some mass, deletion, with a AK, blah, 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 right? The judge isn't going to say, well, I rebuke you, the devil behind you, the criminal, or the one who that did the assault. No, let's say, I'm going to put you in prison because you're responsible and you're in control of yourself. You see how stupid it is to stand by these scripts? There's no logic behind it. It don't make any sense. There's not one time that I've ever heard of our known of in history, and I don't know anything about it. It may be, but I'm sure that I've never seen it, that where if a person is brought to court for doing any such horrendous crime or terrible, deletion of people that the judge or prosecutor is going to say, well, they're not at fault. It's because there is a demon possessing them. The devil made them do it. No, they'll say, okay, if they ever said that, well, the devil made them do it, where you and the devil, you're going to be locked behind bars. So you and your friend, the devil, can talk it out while you're in prison for 15 to 20 years. Have fun with that. They're not going to sit there and say, well, I'm not going to cause you, the person who's the vessel or the body of this enclosed demon. I'm not going to talk about you. Let's just address the spirit behind it. But hold on. Wait a minute. Wait. Y'all take a sip. Take a sip on this one, because I got something for you. Take a sip, ladies and gentlemen. Take a sip, because I got something for you on this one. I got a big contradiction for you. You're going to need a sip. If you got some wine in your hand, take a sip. If you got a beer, take a sip. If you got something hard, take a sip. Because I got something for you, and it just came to me right now. This is hot off the press. Both of us, we are both going to experience this. Check this out. We were told that in the Garden of Adam and Eve, we were told that the serpent was actually manipulated by Satan, right? To crawl up, or I guess in their case, walk up. See how stupid is that? You see how stupid that sounds? A snake walked up to Eve. Like some, what do you call that? What's that? Man, I'm losing that. It's I can't think of what that insect is, but anyhow, walked up to Eve and convinced her to bite the apple. So in the story, because it's just a story, it's not fact. In the story, God cursed the serpent, right? But did not curse the devil that was behind the serpent. So God cursed the serpent and said, you will crawl upon the earth and eat dirt, or something like that. Slither upon the earth and eat dirt. Cursed the serpent. Cursed basically Eve and Adam, but did not address the demon that was behind the serpent's action. You see what type of craziness that you see what kind of, I'm not going to go in depth with that, because that's just going to, again, it's going to make this audio too long. I cannot get into all the details. I've spoken about this before. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our first rodeo, and you need to go back to some other audios. You'll see the titles on it. It will say God this, gesture that, which is, of course, the other name. And the church is this and that. And I outline a lot of things. Noah's Ark is crazy, or Noah's Ark is the beginning of sheeple. I got all that ready for you, so I don't have to detail that in this one. But the point being is, I stood by this nonsense, contradictory, man-destroying, feminizing book or books, and thought I could apply it in my relationship world, and it never works. It never works, because what happened is, if I continue to, in your word, believe, which is actually trust, if I continue to go by what this human book tells me to do and try to bring that into my relationship, I'll end up thinking that every girl that I meet in the church is an angel, and she already has 50 bodies on her and laden with 2 kids that don't belong to me. Instead of understanding that I have value, I can build my own family, I can go out there and at least find some type of girl who's got more to offer than a used body or a repackaged, refurbished deal. See, the thing is about refurbishing a couch or maybe a car or maybe a computer or something else, you can actually go and get brand new parts to refurbish this thing. There's a difference. See, when it comes to, and we're going to talk about that somewhere else, and this topic is getting off beat here and off subject, but when it comes to women with having a lot of high body count, and then she goes back to the church to repackage herself as an angel and think that she's forgiven for all her transgressions, those parts aren't brand new. They're not new, sir. They're not new. Meaning, you can go to the computer shop and actually get new parts, get a new motherboard, get computer keys, get a new screen if you want to, and make this thing look brand new, and they can resell it. There's refurbished, resold items all the time that still works, just like the brand new product, because it has brand new items in it. It has new software and new hardware. It's legally sold because it is considered fixed and new. It's used, but sometimes you can't tell because it's been replaced. But when it comes to actual organic people that go back to the church and say, well, I'm a reborn Christian. Yeah, I was a stripper when I was on OnlyFans when I was, I did do this with this person, but I'm this now. The software is still the same. The hardware may be different only because it's wore out. It's older now. There's wear and tear. There's struggle. And so if I continue to be this soft, blue pill, redundant boy that I used to be, you would not hear from Leon C. Morpheus today. I will be just like the average American, unlearned, self-hating, not understanding my own value, and letting everything in the environment dictate my success in my life. I would not be the man that I am today. So you got to understand what you believe in will dictate your future. What you allow to be your idea of the way things should be based on some mythical, redundant, non-evidence of a belief system, you're going to use that and you're going to take it into your personal life and our job and our business, and you're going to think that those are all tethered together. They all are tethered together, but it would affect how much you fly. But I'm not going to get into it, but you know what? Now today, I am actually gifted. Some of you would say blessed, which I don't use that dumb word, with 3 beautiful companions and counting if I wanted to, which overlaps and overtake any of those strange females that I ever came in contact with. Because my girls now, they're no older than 25. I told you how old they were, but I'm not going to recap on that because it's none of your goddamn business anyway. I don't mess with them older than 24, 25 or 26 years old. They don't go no further than that. 26 is old to me. But imagine how old that girl would be if we did get together in the middle school. Just imagine. And she was older than me at the time as well, about a couple of years. But you know me, I didn't care. I just went for whatever I liked at the time. Didn't think about all the minor logistics and issues. But I'm gonna get off this audio because there's so much more to this and I don't want to make it long. The point of the matter is it does affect your life, and how you know that religion is not the way, or the ideal of these mythical belief systems, is that it can interfere with how you deal with relationships, and the relationships are different than your religious ideas. This equally yoked BS. Sometimes you got to understand it's just the nature of the female that you're dealing with, or a woman. And most times it can be and is a modern majority ordeal, meaning most of them, not all, but most of them think a certain way. And if you don't understand that because you're too blinded by a belief system made up by mankind, then you'll never know, and you can clamp yourself down to a non-successful, limited life. And that is it, ladies and gentlemen, for today. And I have more to come for you. And I had to make it short and sweet. There was so much more to add to it, but this is what I can do to make my audios and lessons a little shorter, but I add more to it as we continue on. And until next time, you've been fed here.